Sensations I was describing a minute ago, kind of when you're happy because your team won, that sense of elation, that kind of lifting up. On the other hand, when something happens that you don't want, that you would never wish for, what is there? There's kind of a depressing, something is being pressed down, a heaviness, that sensation of dullness, heaviness, or something even in the pit of your stomach. And so these are, this is the way God created us. These are physical, physiological effects on our body. Also, even, our body, our brains emit chemical responses. When your team wins, there's that adrenaline rush, that sense of yay. And so emotions have a purpose, and they're symptomatic. They're telling about something. Now, one other thing that I need to bring in that I'm sure will come up as we talk is our thoughts also contribute to emotions. And so it's how, our thought is like this supercomputer in our head. The amount of information we're receiving, all the time is just amazing. And so how you're interpreting an event will dictate your emotion. And that's very important as parents, because there have been times in my life I might have interpreted, say with my first 4 children, something that they did. And because of my perspective of it, I would have gotten really upset. Well, nowadays with child number 5 and 6, have been through this, I'm not surprised. And so I don't have the same emotion because I don't have the same perspective. Like Doug shared, we've changed, we've grown. So our emotions are often a product of our perspective of a behavior, our perspective of, just a situation. And so our thought, our mindset is very important. One of the other things, and this is just kind of a given, is that emotions are God-given, but also they are learned. So we're created in the image of God. And so there's this unseen part of us, we're spirit, soul, our bodies we see all the time, but our body is merely an earth suit. When Adam was created, first, God molded him from the dust of the ground. There was this earth suit, but it was inactive. It didn't do anything until God breathed his breath of life, and then Adam became a living soul. And so that's really life. Our unseen part of ourselves is really what is life, what is alive. And so God created, there's an emotiveness that we have from him. And as I wind down, one of the things that we also have to think about is not only are we created in the image of God, and therefore emotion is natural, emotion is necessary, emotion is part of our created design, but we are also influenced by many things that will dictate how we respond or how we remote. So some of those primary influencers, first is our family environment, our family of origin. If you had very stoic, perhaps quiet, maybe introverted type of parents, you probably didn't see a lot of strong emotion. And although that was not taught in terms of, they didn't necessarily verbally say, you need to be like this, there was something about their manner that was caught. Okay. You might remember, maybe being a young child and you're doing something and no one said something back to you, but you saw, you felt, you saw their body language, you caught, oh, I better not do that. Or maybe I shouldn't feel that, or maybe I shouldn't cry. And so we catch a lot of things from our environment, the people around us. Experiences, trauma will dictate how we respond or don't respond. Situations that are too overwhelming and too hurtful. No one wants pain. And so we can tend to run away from emotions that help kind of remind us of something that's pain. One of the things as we go into anger, and I'm going to have Doug speak first, that I've had to learn as a mom is that anger has times when it's legitimate. Growing up, I saw a lot of anger and it was excessive. And I had to learn that there are times, the Bible says, be angry and sin not. So there's a be angry, injustice when things are not right. And we need to, remember and communicate that to our children. There are times they are justified in their anger. And that's something that they need to understand. And the whole thing, what to do with anger is how do we mold, how do we help them process it in a healthy way so it's not unleashed to everyone else in an unhealthy way, and the sin part comes in. The last thing I want to say is, just tying into the biology, is that sometimes anger can be addictive in that there's a rush, there's an adrenaline, there's a chemical response that can become a norm. There's a sense of, power, and I'll go into that a little bit later, but anger, it's something that we all deal with. It can look differently in different people, but I want to shift it over to Doug.
That was really good. And what you just shared about emotions, and I'd say specifically perceptions, how am I perceiving the interaction is huge for me, or I guess any parent. But the lens which you see the situation coming at you, if it's not filtered correctly, and that can really, it can play with you. You can misinterpret things, is basically, I think, what Tina's trying to get at. If you misinterpret it and you misjudge your child's, what they're conveying to you, that can cause tension that you didn't necessarily mean to. And so what we're really trying to get at is, you knowing yourself is the hugest thing about being a better parent. And I would say our parenting got better as we got healed and understood what are our triggers, what are the things that shape us, like she said, the influences in our lives. Like somebody might have a stoic family. Our family, as Tina would say, we're just boisterous. We're loud, we have fun, we shout at each other, we play games, we're competitive. And if my sisters are watching, they know that's true. But for someone who's from a stoic family, they think, well, why are they mad at each other? Well, we're not mad at each other. We're just, I won the game and I'm telling you how I won it. And you should have known better than try to challenge me. You know what I'm saying? I'm being facetious, but that's what I mean. The interpretations, what it means, like, or me on the other side, oh, wow, they're being stoic. Did I do something wrong? What did I do wrong? Did I say something wrong? Oh gosh, I thought, now I'm on this mental spiral cycle. So just to tip off on that, but I wanted to start off by reading the scriptures, Ephesians 5:1-2. It says, therefore be imitators of God as dear children, and walk in love as Christ also has loved us and given himself for us. I wanted to start there because my view of what God is like is huge. And if I'm perceiving God, let's say like the lightning bolt Old Testament, this is the way, and I lead as a dad like that, versus when Philip says to Jesus, hey, why don't you show us the Father? And Jesus says, why are you asking that question? He said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And I'm sure Philip is kind of like, no, I've read the Old Testament, and what you're doing, you're very kind, you're very compassionate, and that's not what I see. And so Jesus has to kind of let him know. He says, no, everything that I do or say is from my dad. And so if you're seeing kindness, that's what he's like. And so it may raise other questions we don't have time to go over, but what I'm just basically saying is your perception of God is going to affect how you lead. Can I keep going, or do you want me to add just on that?
Yeah, let me actually just, I'm going to share my screen with you and give you guys kind of an outline if you want to write some notes down of what just a quick overview of what we're talking about here. So one of the things, beliefs about emotion, what has influenced your perspectives about emotion, especially anger? We all know the scripture, Ephesians 4:26, be angry and sin not. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. And I am sure there's a physical component there in terms of our health. And anger, a symptom, can be a symptom of deeper states, disappointment, which we'll talk about in the next session. But the faces of anger, we and our kids, and Doug is going to talk about, just how to help our kids navigate when they're emotion and when they're angry, or what to do with their anger, how to help them process and to talk to them when they're angry. He's really good at that. But the faces of anger, depending on who we are, our influencers, some of us might be like this top guy here, who is just a really, he's angry. Okay. Then there's the kid, or maybe you were this way where you're kind of like, I'm angry, I'm not gonna show up, but I'm gonna get them back. I was actually like that as a kid. It was gonna be payback, and I was planning even in school. And then there's the person who is just, they get, mopey, passive aggressive, I'm not going to talk to you, and so, anger can look different things with the different personalities of our children, or even ourselves. And, like I said, the whys of anger: learned, inherited injustice, lack of control. And the question is how to exude anger and not sin. And then I'm going to just leave the slide here. Doug's going to go into these areas a little bit as he talks about, goes into where he's going.
Yes, so a lot of what you're going to hear from us is, what am I doing? And that's really the thing. I'm kind of like the thermostat of the household. And so the two scriptures that Tina has up there, one is the Ephesians, so was that 5? It says, do not provoke your children to wrath. It's like, man, fathers, don't do it. So much that they had to state it. And then at the end of Malachi, chapter 4, verses 5, and it says at the end, these are the final words of the Old Testament. And then there was a 400-year gap before the time of Christ. 400 years. So the last thing you hear from God through the prophet is that he's going to come and he's going to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to the fathers. That this is...
Yeah, and this, like Doug said, that a lot of this, as far as these topics for these sessions, are going to bleed into each other. I'm really excited about the next one, because I really think that disappointment and grief are some of the major reasons why people deal with anger. Yep. And they've just never processed it. They don't know how to, because to deal with, disappointment is kind of this weird, vague thing. So we'll talk about that, like,
what is that?
Disappointment. But
I'm disappointed all the time.
Life. Yeah. But grief, the heaviness and all that is entailed with grief and grieving, we are slow, we are sluggish, and as people of faith, depending on our church experience or what we've been taught, I think it's just kind of one of those fallen parts of human nature that we don't want to. We are slow to understand the value of sitting in a place of just owning the hardness of a situation, and then just not embracing like we like it, but acknowledging. And when my dad passed away a few years ago, and I always remember this, my mom said, Tina, you've got to sit in your pain to get beyond your pain.
That's exactly right.
And she said, you don't know how long that's going to take. So anyway, we're going to go into grief and disappointment and how, the bad behavior that we see sometimes can be a result of that.